My daughter called me from a number I didn't recognize, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. "Daddy, I've been in therapy. I finally understand why you were never there." After 4 years of silence, those words should have been a blessing. Instead, they were bait for a trap that would leave me fighting for my life in the frozen hell of the Kodiak wilderness. The call came at 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. I know because I've been staring at the ceiling of my Denver penthouse, counting the minutes since midnight like I'd done every night since Marianne died. Sleep and I had become strangers after cancer stole my wife, and my daughter Savannah blamed me for not being there to save her. "Daddy?" The voice was broken, raw, nothing like the confident young woman who'd stood at her mother's graveside and told me I'd killed her by choosing my company over my family. "Savannah!" I sat up so fast the room spun. "Baby, what's wrong?" "Everything. I'm wrong. I've been so wrong." She was hyperventilating between words. "Dr. Brennan, my therapist, she helped me see. Oh God, Daddy, I'm so sorry." My throat closed. Richard Crenshaw, former Navy SEAL, CEO of a multi-million-dollar security firm, reduced to tears by his little girl's voice. "Slow down, sweetheart. Where are you?" "Home. Anchorage. I moved back after—" a shuddering breath. "After I realized I was becoming someone Mom would hate, someone who blamed you for a disease nobody could stop." Anchorage. She'd been in Alaska this whole time, just a few hours' flight from Denver, and I'd had no idea. The private investigators I'd hired had lost her trail in Portland 2 years ago. "I want to fix this," she continued. "I want my dad back. I want to be your daughter again, not this monster I became." "You're not a monster, Savannah. You were grieving." "No." Her voice gained strength. "No more excuses. I chose to hurt you. I chose to shut you out. And now I want to choose differently. If you've ever lost a child, not to death, but to anger and misunderstanding, you know why my hands were shaking. You know why I'd have given anything to hear those words. Take a second right now to subscribe to this channel, because what I'm about to tell you might save you from making the same mistake I did. Sometimes the most dangerous predators come disguised as answered prayers." "I've been planning something," Savannah said, her voice steadying. "Remember that father-daughter trip we always talked about? The one to Kodiak Island? The brown bears, the salmon runs, just us and nature?" My chest tightened. We'd planned that trip a dozen times over the years, but there was always another contract, another crisis at the company. Marianne had begged me to make time, warning me that Savannah wouldn't be young forever. "I remember," I whispered. "I've arranged everything. 2 weeks, just us. No cell phones, no work, no distractions. There's this incredible wilderness lodge, Uyak Bay Wilderness Retreat, completely off the grid. I've already put down the deposit." "Savannah, of course, yes. When?" 3 weeks from now, October 15th. "Dad, I know I don't deserve this chance, but—" "Stop." I cut her off, my voice thick. "You're my daughter. You'll always deserve every chance." She started crying again, but these were different tears, healing tears. We talked for 2 more hours until the Denver skyline began to lighten with dawn. She told me about her job at a wildlife conservation group, about the therapy that had helped her process her grief, about the man she'd been dating who reminded her of me. He's disciplined, focused, maybe a little too devoted to his work. She laughed, and it was Marianne's laugh, bright and alive. When we finally hung up, I sat in my home office staring at a photo from Savannah's college graduation. Marianne between us, already thin from the first round of chemo, but smiling like she won the lottery. 6 months later, she was gone. "I'm going to fix this, Mary," I promised the photo. "I'm going to get our girl back." I should have noticed the red flags. The way Savannah deflected when I asked for the therapist's name. "Oh, she's very private, doesn't like publicity." How she insisted on booking everything herself. "It's important to me, Dad. Let me do this for us." The strange urgency when she made me promise not to tell anyone. "I don't want Uncle Marcus or anyone at the company to know. This is our time." But when you're drowning in guilt, and someone throws you a rope,
You don't check if it's attached to anything. You just grab on and pray. 3 weeks. 3 weeks to prepare for what I thought would be reconciliation. I had no idea I was preparing for war.
Spent 3 weeks training for brown bears in difficult terrain. I should have been preparing for something far more dangerous. A daughter whose love had curdled into something monstrous while I wasn't looking. The weeks before Alaska passed in a blur of hope and preparation. I attacked the trip planning with the same intensity I'd once applied to SEAL missions. New gear from REI, trail maps of Kodiak Island, bear safety courses, wilderness first aid refresher. At 58, I could still outrun most 30-year-olds, but Kodiak didn't care about your marathon times. My business partner, Marcus Volkov, watched my transformation with skeptical eyes. We'd built Crenshaw Security Solutions together after leaving the teams, and he knew me better than anyone alive. "So, the prodigal daughter returns," he said, finding me in the company gym at 5 a.m., pushing through my third set of weighted pack carries. "You're training like we're deploying to Fallujah again." "It's Kodiak, Marcus. You don't half-ass Kodiak." He crossed his massive arms, tattoos rippling. "You don't half-ass anything, brother. But this is different. You're glowing like a pregnant woman." "My daughter wants to reconnect. Can I be happy about that?" "After 4 years of radio silence? After what she said at Marianne's funeral?" Marcus shook his head. "I'm not saying don't go. I'm saying go smart. Take a sat phone. Tell me exactly where you'll be." "She wants it to be just us, no distractions." "Richard." He used my full name, which meant he was done playing. "In 30 years of friendship, through wars and worse, when have your instincts ever been wrong?" "Never." The answer was never. My instincts had saved our lives more times than I could count. And right now, beneath the desperate hope, they were whispering warnings I didn't want to hear. "My instincts tell me if I don't take this chance, I'll lose her forever," I said. Marcus sighed. "Then at least take the emergency beacon, the one that looks like a watch. She'll never know." I agreed, though Savannah had been specific about no electronics. "I want us completely unplugged, Daddy, like when I was little and we'd camp in the backyard." That moment, when someone you trust asks you to go against every survival instinct you have, that's when love becomes dangerous. If you're a parent, you understand. If you've ever ignored that voice in your head for someone you love, you need to hear what happens next. Hit that like button not for me, but as a promise to yourself to never let love make you stupid. And please, share this with every parent you know. It might just save their life. The night before departure, I couldn't shake the feeling I was missing something. I pulled up everything I could about Uyak Bay Wilderness Retreat. The website looked professional, but new. No reviews, no social media presence. The booking email came from a generic Gmail account. I called the number listed. It rang endlessly before going to a voicemail that was just a beep. "You're being paranoid," I told myself. "She's trying to reconnect. Don't ruin this with your trust issues." But I packed the emergency beacon anyway, disguised as a fitness watch, and I left a sealed envelope with Marcus. "Just in case," I told him. "Open it if you don't hear from me in 3 weeks." He took it without comment, but his eyes said everything. "Be careful, brother. Something's not right." The next morning, Savannah picked me up in a rented Land Rover. She looked good, healthy, clear-eyed, her mother's auburn hair pulled back in a ponytail. When she hugged me, she smelled of vanilla and pine, just like when she was little. "Ready for an adventure, old man?" She grinned, and I saw my baby girl again, the one who used to beg for bedtime stories about my missions. "Born ready, kiddo." As we drove to the private airfield, she chattered about her life in Anchorage, her work tracking bear populations, the cabin she'd bought with her inheritance from Marianne. But there were gaps in her stories, inconsistencies that my trained mind cataloged automatically.
So this therapist, Dr. Brennan, can we not talk about therapy? She gripped the steering wheel tighter. This trip is about moving forward, not dwelling on the past. At the airfield, she led me to a small charter plane. The pilot, a weathered man named Dutch, barely acknowledged me beyond a grunt. No flight plan briefing, no safety check. Just Savannah handing him an envelope and us climbing aboard. "Bit informal," I commented as we took off. "That's Alaska for you," she laughed, but it sounded forced. "Everyone's casual up here." The flight was beautiful. Mountains and glaciers and endless wilderness. She pointed out landmarks, her knowledge impressive. Whatever else had happened in 4 years, she'd clearly fallen in love with Alaska. "There," she pointed as we began descending. "Uyak Bay, isn't it perfect?" It was perfect, too perfect. A pristine wilderness with no signs of human habitation anywhere. "Where's the lodge?" I asked. "Oh, it's tucked back in the trees, very eco-friendly. You can barely see it from the air." But I could see everything from the air, and there was nothing but wilderness for miles in all directions. The plane touched down on a rough strip carved from the tundra, and as we unloaded our gear, every instinct I had screamed danger. But I looked at my daughter, saw her excitement, her hope, and I pushed the warnings down. "The lodge is about an hour's hike that way," she said, pointing northeast. "Ready? Lead the way, sweetheart." Dutch took off without a word, leaving us in silence so complete it felt like the world had ended. Savannah shouldered her pack and started walking, and I followed, telling myself this was what I'd wanted, time alone with my daughter, a chance to heal. But as we hiked deeper into the wilderness, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't following my daughter at all. I was following a stranger wearing her face.
The exact moment your child stops pretending to love you, that's a special kind of death. Mine happened 40 miles from nowhere, when Savannah turned around and I saw my executioner smiling back with my daughter's face. We hiked for 2 hours through terrain that would challenge experienced outdoorsmen. Savannah moved with surprising confidence, following what she claimed was a trail, but looked like virgin wilderness to me. The October air bit through our layers, carrying the scent of snow and something else, that primal smell of untouched wild that makes your lizard brain scream, predator territory. "Almost there," Savannah called back, not even breathing hard, "just over this ridge." But I'd had enough. Every military instinct, every hard-won survival skill was firing. I stopped walking, my hand moving instinctively to the knife on my belt. "Savannah, stop." She turned slowly, and in that moment, the mask didn't just slip, it shattered. The loving daughter vanished, replaced by someone I'd never seen before, someone whose eyes held the kind of cold calculation I'd only seen in enemy combatants. "What's wrong, Daddy?" The word was poison in her mouth. "Don't you trust me?" "Where's the lodge?" "There is no lodge." The words hit like bullets, clean, precise, fatal. The therapist, Dr. Brennan, doesn't exist. Though I have been in therapy, Dr. Morrison is quite real. She's been helping me understand my abandonment issues and complicated grief. She'll be devastated when I tell her how you wandered off during our reconciliation trip, how I searched for days but couldn't find you. My mind shifted into tactical mode, the same clarity that had saved my life in Afghanistan. Distance to target, 15 feet. Terrain, favorable for escape, but not pursuit. Equipment, she had the advantage of preparation. Why? The word came out steady, controlled. She laughed, and it wasn't like Marianne's laugh. This was something else, something that had been growing in the dark while I wasn't watching. Why? She pulled off her pack, movements efficient and practiced. Because you killed her. Not the cancer, you. Every deployment, every mission, every "I'll be home soon, princess" that turned into another month away.
She died thinking you chose your precious teams over her." "That's not true?" Her scream echoed off the mountains. "Then where were you when she had her first chemo? Second deployment to Syria. Where were you when she got the terminal diagnosis? Training exercise in Norway. Where were you when she died, Daddy? Where were you?" "I was on a plane, breaking every regulation to get home. I didn't make it in time." "No, you didn't." She pulled something from her pack. My satellite phone, I realized with a sick lurch. She'd lifted it during one of our breaks. "Just like you won't make it out of here in time. If you're still watching, if your heart is racing like mine was in that moment, then you understand that the greatest threats come from those we'd never suspect. Please, subscribe right now, not because I need your support, but because someone you love needs to hear this story. Share it with every parent you know. Sometimes the child you die for is planning your death, and the signs are there if we just stop being blinded by love." "You've planned this for a while," I said, buying time, mapping escape routes. 2 years, she pulled out a GPS device, checking coordinates. "Ever since I realized the inheritance wasn't enough, that your company, your investments, your entire empire would go to charity if I couldn't prove I'd reconciled with you." Funny how guilt makes people change their wills, isn't it? I remembered that day. 6 months after Marianne's death, drunk on whiskey and grief, I'd rewritten everything. If Savannah couldn't forgive me, then my money would go to veterans' families, people who understood sacrifice. The lawyer said you needed to demonstrate sustained reconciliation. 6 months of therapy bills, phone records, and a tragic final trip where my beloved father wandered off, despite my desperate attempts to stop him. She smiled, and it was a stranger smile. "Dr. Morrison has been so supportive of my healing journey. She'll testify how hard I worked to forgive you, how excited I was about our trip. Dutch knows where he dropped us. Dutch thinks he dropped us at the real Uyak Bay Lodge, 50 miles south. I'll be waiting there in 2 weeks, hysterical with grief. The brave daughter who tried to save her father but failed." She'd thought of everything. The secret trip, the isolated location, the paper trail of reconciliation, even my own desperate need to believe she still loved me. "Your mother—" "Don't!" The word cracked like a whip. "Don't you dare invoke her. She died believing you loved the Navy more than us, and she was right." "I loved you both more than life itself." "Then you should have acted like it." She was backing away now, increasing distance. "Goodbye, Richard. Try not to die too quickly. I need at least a week to make my search look convincing." "Savannah, wait!" But she was already running, moving with the speed and confidence of someone who'd scouted this terrain before, someone who'd planned every detail of my death with the same precision I'd once planned missions. I stood alone in the Alaskan wilderness, watching my daughter disappear over the ridge. The temperature was dropping, the sun beginning its descent toward the horizon. In a few hours it would be dark. In a few days, I'd be out of food. In 2 weeks, I'd be a tragic headline. "Former Navy SEAL dies in Alaskan wilderness." Unless I did what I'd always done, survive. They train you for a lot in the SEALs. How to survive torture, starvation, hypothermia. But they never teach you how to survive the moment you realize your child wants you dead. That's a cold no amount of gear can protect you from. I gave myself exactly 60 seconds to feel it. The betrayal, the grief, the soul-crushing realization that my daughter, my baby girl, had just sentenced me to death. 60 seconds to let the emotions wash over me like Arctic water, threatening to pull me under. Then I locked it away. Emotion is luxury. Survival is necessity. First priority, inventory. I dumped my pack, cataloging everything with mechanical precision. Sleeping bag rated to 20 degrees, inadequate for Kodiak nights. 3 days of MREs if I stretch them. water purification tablets, basic first aid, fire starter, knife, 50 feet of paracord, no compass. Savannah had been thorough. No GPS, no beacon, except the emergency watch Marcus had insisted on, currently showing a full battery and no signal. Second priority, shelter. The sun was already kissing the mountains. In 2 hours, the temperature would plummet. Kodiak in October wasn't forgiving to the unprepared, and despite my gear, I was unprepared for extended survival. I found a cluster of spruce trees that formed a natural windbreak and got to work. The movements were automatic, muscle memory from a lifetime ago. Debris hut reinforced with spruce boughs, elevated platform to avoid ground cold, fire reflector wall to maximize heat. My hands worked while my mind calculated. Savannah had been specific on the location, 50 miles from the real lodge. She'd need me to die here in this general area for her story to work, which meant she'd probably disabled any nearby cabins or shelters, removed any cached supplies. Smart girl. I'd taught her well. Too well. If you're feeling that chill down your spine, that sick realization that sometimes the people we trust most are the ones planning our destruction, then you understand why I need you to share this story. Hit that subscribe button, not for views or algorithms, but because somewhere out there, someone needs to hear this. Someone needs to know that survival isn't just about skills. It's about the will to live when the person you die for wants you dead. By full dark, I had shelter and fire. The flames danced against the spruce boughs, casting shadows that looked like memories. Savannah at 6, begging for scary stories around the campfire. At 10, proud as I, taught her to build her first shelter. At 16, rolling her eyes when I insisted she learn navigation without GPS. Every skill I'd taught her to keep her safe, she'd used to plan my death. I forced myself to eat half an MRE, knowing I'd need the calories. The freeze-dried beef stew tasted like cardboard and betrayal. As I ate, I planned. Option 1, try to hike out. 50 miles of unknown terrain with minimal supplies and no navigation tools. The coast would be my best bet. Follow it south until I hit civilization. But Savannah knew I'd think that way. She'd probably counted on it. Option 2, stay put and try to signal for help. But help wasn't coming. Dutch wouldn't return for 2 weeks and he'd go to the wrong location. No one else knew where I was. Option 3, the emergency beacon. But even if it worked, a big if in this terrain, rescue would take days, and Savannah might be monitoring emergency frequencies. If she knew I'd survived, she might have contingencies. A branch cracked in the darkness beyond the firelight. I froze, hand on my knife. Kodiak bears were mostly hibernating by October, but mostly wasn't always. A grizzly investigating human scent would end this faster than starvation. But it wasn't a bear that emerged from the shadows. It was a wolf. Massive, gray-white, with eyes that reflected the firelight like golden coins. We stared at each other across the flames, 2 predators recognizing kinship. You too, huh? Alone in the cold, trying to survive? The wolf tilted its head, then melted back into the darkness, but I could feel it out there, watching, waiting to see if I'd become prey or prove myself predator. I fed the fire and settled in for the longest night of my life, not because of the cold or the hunger or the very real possibility of death, but because every time I closed my eyes, I saw Savannah. Not the stranger who'd left me to die, but my little girl, the one who cried when she skinned her knee, the one who waited by the window for me to come home from deployments, the one who held her mother's hand as the cancer won. Where had that girl gone? When had love turned to poison? The answer came with brutal clarity. She'd never left. I had. One deployment after another, one mission after another, always promising it was the last one, always finding a reason for just one more. I told myself I was protecting them, providing for them. But protection isn't presence. Money isn't love. Marianne had understood.
She'd made her peace with being a military wife. But Savannah? She just wanted her daddy. And I'd given her a ghost who showed up between missions, a stranger in uniform who taught her survival skills instead of attending dance recitals. I'd created this, not the murder plot, that was all her, but the anger, the abandonment, the twisted need for revenge. I'd planted those seeds with every missed birthday, every broken promise, every time I chose duty over daughter. The wolf howled somewhere in the darkness, and others answered. A pack, calling to each other across the frozen miles. Even predators knew the value of family. I pulled out the emergency beacon, finger hovering over the activation button. One press, and rescue would come. I'd live. Savannah would go to prison. Justice would be served. But was that justice? Or just another abandonment? Another choice to save myself instead of fighting for her? I put the beacon away. If I was going to survive this, it wouldn't be through rescue. It would be through the same skills that had failed me as a father, but might save me as a man. Discipline, endurance, the absolute refusal to quit. And maybe, just maybe, if I survived long enough, I could find a way to save more than just my life. Maybe I could find a way to save my daughter from herself.
Day 3 without food, and I realized something that changed everything. I wasn't alone out here. Someone was watching me, following me, and it wasn't the wolves.
In combat, we called it target fixation, when you become so focused on killing your enemy that you forget they might kill you back. My daughter was about to learn why you never hunt a seal with his own rifle. She'd established a pattern. Every morning at 0600, she'd take position on the ridge. Every evening at 1800, she'd return to wherever she was camping, somewhere north, based on her approach routes. Mid-bay, she'd patrol the area, checking for signs of me, growing increasingly frustrated with each empty snare, each cold fire pit. On day 5, I was ready. I'd spent 2 days preparing, not for escape, for engagement. She wanted to hunt? Fine. But she'd forgotten the first rule of hunting dangerous game: respect your prey. The rifle changed everything. A custom Remington 700 in .308, built by my own hands. I knew every screw, every adjustment, every quirk. More importantly, I knew its weakness. A slight cant in the scope mount that threw shots 2 inches left at 300 yards if you didn't compensate. She wouldn't know that. She'd zeroed it at a range, probably at 100 yards where the cant didn't matter. But in field conditions, at distance, that 2 inches would be the difference between a kill shot and a miss. I set my trap near the stream where she'd first left tracks. A figure made of branches in my jacket, positioned to look like a man collecting water in the dawn light. Crude, but from 300 yards through a scope, with adrenaline pumping, it would sell. Then I waited. If you're holding your breath right now, if you can feel that tension building, then you know why this story matters. Parents, children, families, we think we know each other. But sometimes the people we love become strangers, and strangers become threats. Subscribe now. Share this, because someone needs to hear that survival isn't just about skills. It's about the will to fight back when everything you love turns against you. She came at 06:15, late by her standards. I watched from my hide as she settled into her shooting position. Through my improvised spotting scope, polished metal from an MRE packet, I could see her scanning the area. Then she saw the decoy. Her whole body changed, tension to excitement. The rifle came up, smooth and practiced. She'd been training. My little girl who'd cried at her first dance recital had learned to kill. I started my count. Distance 310 yards. Wind 3 to 5 miles per hour from the west. She'd hold right for wind, not knowing about the cant. The shot would go wide left of center mass. She took her time, controlling her breathing. Good fundamentals. I'd have been proud if she wasn't trying to murder me. The shot cracked across the valley. The decoy's head exploded in a shower of sticks and fabric, 2 inches left of center mass, exactly where I'd predicted. She worked the bolt, chambering another round, eye still to scope. That's when I moved. I came from her blind side, using the shot's echo to mask my movement. 40 yards, 30, 20. She was focused on the target, waiting for movement, for confirmation of the kill. 10 yards. That's when her instincts kicked in. She started to turn, but I was already airborne. We went down hard, rolling in the moss and pine needles. The rifle flew from her hands. She fought with savage intensity, all technique and fury. She'd been training for this, too. But she'd been training to fight civilians. I'd been trained to fight for my life. In seconds, I had her pinned, my knife at her throat. We lay there, breathing hard, father and daughter locked in a tableau of violence that would have broken Marianne's heart. "Hi, sweetheart," I said quietly. "Nice rifle. I believe it's mine." Her eyes blazed with hatred so pure it took my breath away. "Do it. Kill me. Prove you're the monster I always knew you were." "I'm not going to kill you, Savannah." "Then you're a fool, because I'll never stop. Never. You killed her. You killed Mom with your absence, and now I'm going to kill you." "Who's helping you?" I kept the knife steady but not pressing. "Who were you talking to on the phone?" Her smile widened. "Wouldn't you like to know?" "Someone who cares about timelines. Someone who knows about the will. Your boyfriend? The one who reminds you of me?" Something flickered in her eyes. Surprise. I'd been listening longer than she'd thought. "Let me guess. He's the one who helped you plan this. Probably ex-military himself. Saw a broken girl with a rich father and decided to help her with her healing journey. How much is he getting, Savannah? Half? More?" "Shut up. Did he teach you to shoot? To track? Or was that after you broke into my house, went through my things? How long have you been preparing? 6 months? A year?" 2 years, she spat. 2 years of planning. 2 years of becoming someone you'd never suspect. The grieving daughter, the reformed prodigal. And it worked. You fell for it completely. "No," I said quietly. "I hoped. There's a difference." I shifted my weight, pulled the paracord from my pocket one-handed. She tried to buck me off, but I had leverage and experience. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, beginning to bind her wrists. "You're going to tell me everything. Who's helping you, where your camp is, what other surprises you have planned. And then we're going to walk out of here together." She laughed, high and wild. "You think you've won? You think this is over? You have no idea what's coming." I finished securing her wrists, then hauled her to her feet. The rifle lay 10 feet away. I kept myself between her and it. "Enlighten me." "Check your watch, Daddy. The emergency beacon Marcus gave you. The one you think I don't know about." My blood chilled. I glanced at the watch. It was dead. The screen black. "EMP device," she said cheerfully. "Small, portable, very illegal. Fried it the first night while you slept, along with any other electronics you might have hidden. You're completely cut off." "You came into my camp?" "Several times. You sleep like the dead, old man. Must be the hunger." "Tilt your head. How are those snares working out? Funny how all the game seems to have disappeared, isn't it? Almost like someone's been spreading predator scent around your trap lines." "You've been sabotaging my food sources. Day 1 of the plan. Isolation, starvation, desperation. Then, when you're weak enough, a tragic accident. Maybe a fall. maybe hypothermia. Maybe you just disappear and become another Alaska statistic. Except I didn't get weak enough. No, she admitted. You're tougher than Kyle thought. He said 3 days without food and you'd be hallucinating. A week and you'd be crawling. But here you are, still playing action hero. Kyle. Now I had a name. Where is Kyle now? Wouldn't you like to know? Maybe he's watching us right now through a scope. Maybe he's got you in his crosshairs. I scanned the ridgelines automatically, but I didn't think so. This felt personal to her. She'd want to do it herself. No, I said, this is your show, your revenge. You wouldn't let him take that from you. Her silence told me I was right. We started walking, me guiding her toward where I'd hidden my pack. I needed those supplies before we went anywhere. You know what the funny part is, she said as we walked. I didn't always hate you. When I was little, I worshipped you. The hero father who fought bad guys and saved the world. I used to tell everyone my daddy was basically Captain America. Savannah. But then I grew up and I realized the truth. You weren't saving the world. You were hiding from us, from the messy, complicated, boring reality of family life. It was easier to be a hero in some desert than a father in Denver. Each word was a knife, made worse by the grain of truth in them. And Mom, she made excuses for you until the day she died. Daddy loves us. Daddy's protecting our freedom. Daddy will be home soon. But you weren't, were you? You were always one mission away from retirement, one deployment from being done. One more year, and then you'd be the father we deserved. We reached my hidden pack. I made her sit while I retrieved it, never taking my eyes off her. You were wrong, I said quietly. I know that. I failed you both. But this isn't justice, Savannah. It's murder. No, she said, her voice dropping to something cold and final. It's evolution. The weak father dies. The strong daughter inherits. Circle of life. I pulled out my water bottle, took a drink, then offered it to her. She turned her head away. You're going to have to drink eventually. I'd rather die of thirst.
I had 30 seconds to decide. Justice or mercy? Prison or freedom? Save my daughter's future or save my own life? The helicopter was landing, and I was about to make the worst or best decision of my life. Savannah stared at me, rubbing her freed wrists, confusion replacing rage. What are you doing? Saving you. I grabbed her shoulders, spun her to face north. Your camp is that way, right? Run, get to it. Grab your gear and disappear. You know this terrain. You can make it to the coast before they organize a search. I don't understand. The helicopter was descending, looking for a place to land. We had maybe 2 minutes. I'm giving you a choice, I said urgently. Run now, start over, become someone your mother would be proud of, or stay and face attempted murder charges. Choose. Why? Her voice cracked. Why would you do this? Because I failed you as a father. Because your mother would haunt me forever if I let you rot in prison. Because maybe, just maybe, this is my chance to finally put you first. She took a step backward, then another, then stopped. What will you tell them? All that I got lost, separated from my guide, then surviving on my own. They'll believe it. Look at me. I was gaunt, exhausted, every inch the survivor of an ordeal. But Savannah, if you run forever. No inheritance, no contact. You disappear and stay gone. The money. Forget the money. It's poison. It turned you into this. I gestured at the rifle. The destruction around us. Let it go. Let me go. Live your life. The helicopter touched down 50 yards away. Figures in orange were already jumping out. Go! I shouted. Now! She looked at me one last time, and in her eyes I saw a war between the daughter I'd lost and the killer she'd become. Then she turned and ran. vanishing into the tree line with the speed and grace of someone who belonged in the wild. I watched her go, then turned to face my rescuers, already preparing my story. Lost hunter, separated from my guide, lucky to be alive. If you're screaming at your screen right now, if you think I'm insane for letting her go, then you've never been a parent who failed. You've never looked at your child and seen your own mistakes reflected back. Subscribe to this channel, share this story, because sometimes mercy is harder than justice. Sometimes love means letting go, even if it might kill you. The rescue team reached me, all professional concern and medical assessments. I answered their questions on autopilot, sticking to my story. My guide had abandoned me after an argument about payment. I'd been trying to walk out on my own. No, I didn't know the guide's last name. Cash transaction. Stupid, I know. They bought it. Why wouldn't they? I looked the part, and Aska was full of stories about unscrupulous guides and unprepared tourists. As they helped me to the helicopter, I caught a glimpse of movement on the far ridge. A figure watching. Then nothing. The flight back to civilization was a blur. Hospital, police reports, Marcus arriving on the first flight from Denver, his face a storm of relief and fury. You activated the emergency beacon. That means something went wrong, very wrong. I looked at my oldest friend, my brother in everything but blood, and made my second choice. Savannah tried to kill me. His face went stone. What? I told him everything. The plan, the preparation, the hunt, the moment I had her at knife point, the choice I made. When I finished, Marcus sat in silence for a long moment. Then, "You let her go." I let her go. "She tried to murder you. For money." "I know." "She'll try again." "Maybe. Or maybe she'll take the second chance." Marcus stood, paced to the window. Outside, Anchorage sprawled under gray skies. "You're a fool, Richard." "Probably. A soft, sentimental fool who just signed his own death warrant." "Possibly." He turned back to me. "What do you want me to do?" "Find Kyle, the boyfriend. He's the real poison here. Without him pushing her, manipulating her, maybe she has a chance." "And if I find him?" I met my eyes. "Then you remind him that I have friends, dangerous friends, and if anything happens to me, ever, they'll know where to look." Marcus nodded slowly. "I'll handle it. What about the will?" "Change it. Everything to veterans' charities, effective immediately. No reconciliation clause, no loopholes. She wants money, she can earn it like everyone else." "And Savannah?" I closed my eyes, seeing her face in that last moment. The war between love and hate. The choice she'd have to make every day for the rest of her life. Savannah died in Alaska. My daughter is gone. If someone who looks like her tries to contact me, I'll know it's a stranger wearing her face. Marcus gripped my shoulder. "I'm sorry, brother." "So am I." He left to make arrangements, and I lay in the hospital bed, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere out there, Savannah was running. Maybe towards redemption, maybe towards more darkness. I'd given her the choice that I couldn't make it for her. But for the first time since Marianne died, I felt something like peace. I'd finally done what she'd always asked me to do. I'd put our daughter first, even if it killed me. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Breathing. Soft. Controlled. Then I made it out. "Good." I don't understand why you did it." "Yes, you do. Deep down, beneath all that anger, you know." Silence. Then, "Kyle's gone. Disappeared the day you activated the beacon. Took everything. The plans, the money I'd saved, everything. He was never going to share the inheritance. He was using me." "I know." "You knew?" "I suspected. Con men target vulnerable people. You were vulnerable." "I was stupid." You were grieving. There's a difference. More silence. I could hear wind in the background, maybe traffic. I hated you, she said finally. For so long, I hated you so much it burned. I know. But when you cut me loose, when you chose me over justice, Mom would have done that. Mom always chose love over logic. My throat tightened. She was better than both of us. I'm leaving Alaska, starting over, somewhere nobody knows me. Good. Will you look for me? No. This is goodbye, Savannah. Real goodbye. You're free, but freedom means letting go. Of the money, of the hate, of me. She was crying now. Soft, hitching breaths. I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm so sorry. I know, baby. So am I. I love you. The words came out broken. Surprised, like she hadn't expected to say them. Maybe hadn't expected to mean them. I love you too. Always have, always will. Now go live a life that honors that love. The line went dead. I deleted the call log and lay back. Outside, it began to snow, covering Anchorage in clean, white silence. Covering tracks. Covering sins. Giving the world a fresh start. Maybe that's all of us can hope for. A second chance. A clean slate. The opportunity to choose better. I'd given my daughter that chance. Now I had to live with not knowing what she'd do with it. But for the first time since Mary Ann died, I felt something like peace. I'd finally done what she had always asked me to do. I'd put our daughter first, even if it killed me.
5 years. That's how long I waited to find out if mercy was wisdom or foolishness. Then she walked into my office like a ghost made real, and I knew the answer was both. 5 years of silence. 5 years of looking over my shoulder, wondering if today would be the day she came back to finish what she'd started. 5 years of Marcus running security sweeps and background checks on every new person who entered my life. But she never came. I threw myself into work, into purpose. The company evolved from private security to something more, a nonprofit that helped veterans transition to civilian life, teaching survival skills, but the real kind, how to survive the return home, how to build relationships instead of walls, how to be present for the people who mattered. Everything I'd learned too late. The inheritance I'd nearly died for now funded programs that saved lives in a different way. Mary Ann would have loved the irony and the impact. I was reviewing grant applications when my assistant knocked. "Mr. Crenshaw, there's someone here to see you. No appointment, but she says it's personal." My hand moved instinctively to the concealed carry at my hip. "Send them in." The door opened and time stopped. She looked different. Older, certainly, but more than that. The hardness was gone, replaced by something I recognized from mirrors, the look of someone who'd walked through hell and chosen to keep walking. "Hello, Richard." Not Dad. Richard. The boundary clear and acknowledged. "Savannah." I kept my hand near the weapon, but didn't draw. "You look well. May I sit?" I nodded to the chair across from my desk. She moved differently now. Confident, but not predatory. Alert, but not hunting. "I shouldn't be here. I know that. But I needed you to see something." She pulled out her phone, swiped to a photo. A little girl, maybe 3 years old, with Mary Ann's eyes and my stubborn chin. Her name was Elena, after Mom.
Marcus found me an hour later, still staring at the card. "She was here," he said. It wasn't a question. His security system had flagged her the moment she entered the building. She was. "And?" I showed him the photo of Elena, watched his warrior's face soften. "You're gonna call," he said. "Probably. It could be another trap. Long game. Get close to you through the grandchild." "It could be. But you don't think so." I thought about her eyes, the exhaustion in them, the kind that comes not from planning violence, but from fighting your own nature every single day. No, I think she's trying to break the cycle, be better than me, better than what I taught her to be. Marcus sat down, his bulk making the chair creak. "You know what this means. If you let them in, you'll have to be present, really present. No more losing yourself in work. No more choosing the mission over the family." "I know. Can you do that? Can you be the grandfather you couldn't be as a father?" I looked at the photo again. Elena's eyes were bright, curious, unafraid. She didn't know her grandfather was a ghost, didn't know her mother was a reformed killer. She was just a little girl who deserved better than the legacy of damage and distance I'd created. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I want to try." Marcus nodded. "Then I'll help. Security protocols for visits, background checks on the husband, whatever you need." "What I need," I said quietly, "is to learn how to be a different man, the kind who shows up, who stays, who chooses family even when it's inconvenient." "That's harder than surviving Alaska." "Yes, but maybe that's the point. Maybe the real survival test isn't about making it out of the wilderness. Maybe it's about making it through ordinary life without losing the people who matter." I picked up my phone, then put it down. Not yet. This deserved thought, preparation. I'd spent 5 years becoming someone who might deserve a second chance. I could spend a few more days making sure I was ready. But I would call. For Marianne, for Elena, for the daughter I'd failed, and the granddaughter I hadn't met yet. And maybe, just maybe, for myself. Because sometimes the hardest survival challenge isn't staying alive. It's learning how to live.